The following episode contains descriptions of abuse, sexual assault, and homicidal violence. Listener discretion is advised.
There are nearly 20,000 murders annually in the United States.
Perhaps it's the weather, but the Pacific Northwest has become the notorious home of serial killers and bizarre crimes.
We're here to discuss those murders,
To try to understand the motives,
respect and remember the victims.
and explore the humanity of it all.
I'm Emily Rowney.
And I'm Alisha Holland.
And this is Murder in the Rain.
It was 9:56 a.m. on October 16th, 2012, when a call to 911 was made. The voice on the other end was that of Clinton Heichel, Whitney Heichel's husband of 1 year and 9 months. He was calling to report the 21-year-old missing. At 6:45 a.m., Whitney rustled her husband awake to tell him goodbye as she left for her job at Starbucks, where she was a barista. This is the Starbucks. This story takes place where you and I have both lived, out in Gresham. This was the Starbucks, over by Dairy Queen and Winco in Gresham. She wakes him up, as most couples do, tells him goodbye. She heads out for work. It was Clinton's day off, so he goes back to sleep. It wasn't until 8:15 that he awoke again. This time it was his phone waking him, and on the other line was Whitney's boss at Starbucks inquiring why she hadn't been into work. So at that point, she's about an hour and a half late to her shift.
And was he the one remembering that Whitney woke him up?
Yeah, that's known from what he told officers.
Okay, so he reported yes, she woke me up at the normal
goodbye.
time.
Yep.
Okay, she was on her way to work.
Morning was normal. So Clinton was pretty taken aback by this because this was not her MO. She was really responsible. She'd never ever been one to run away or be missing or be irresponsible. So this really sounded the alarm for him, and he spent the next couple hours calling her phone multiple times, texting her phone, getting no response. He also reached out to friends and family, basically what anyone would do in this situation. Anyone seen or hear from her?
Did she have an iPhone by chance? Do we know?
I don't know.
'Cause, one of our things in our friend group is having your map on so your friends can creep on you.
Well, except for me, because I'm an Android user, and that's a big part
we don't
of
talk
why.
about that.
Just to upset you all in our text messages and be mad that it shows up in the wrong color. Anyway, so he does what we would all do, which is, has anyone seen her? And then on his own, he went driving around the Gresham area looking for her car, which was a 1999 Ford Explorer. No sign of her, no sign of the car. So Whitney Heichel, she was a young wife, an active churchgoer, and known as a protective sister. She was always known to have a maternal instinct and couldn't wait to become a mother herself. And actually in third grade, her teacher created a special kindness award, invited her mom. They had the family come in because she made up this award just for her, which she deservingly earned for being so warm and open-hearted to everyone in the community. And by all accounts that I found, that kindness, acceptance, her love for all people really remained a theme. She was just kind of known as this gentle, loving soul. So she's the middle of 5 kids, and unlike, most middle children, not to make a blanket statement, she really refused to kind of go into the background. She made a point to be bright and lively and not an attention seeker, but she always found that attention in her own way. And she was known by all of her family and friends as being nurturing and uplifting. She was one you would go to shoulder to cry on or first to give a compliment, about whether it's your hair, your outfit, or just you as a person. In 2010, she met a friend of a friend, which was Clinton. And for 4 months, they kind of would end up at the same parties, at the same house, because they had mutual friends, and they would chat and hang out. He actually asked for her number after those 4 months, and she did not give it to him. She was really into hard to get, which I am very inspired by. I'm you don't just hand the number immediately when you talk for 4 seconds.
You don't go out with pre-written numbers ready to give out
business cards. So I'm very inspired by this. And really cute, she went to leave one of the friend gatherings, and her car wouldn't start because it was out of gas. And so Clinton offered to take her to go get it in the little red tank thing, And while he got out and was filling it, she put her number in his phone.
Oh,
I know,
that's
really the
super
cutest.
cute.
6 months later, they were engaged, and then they got married on New Year's Day in 2011. And he was 27 and she was only 19. So a little bit scandalous, not major, but a little bit. But, you know, according to all friends and family, they were very blissfully, happily married for the next year and a half. After Clinton called police, the search and investigation did not take place immediately, that being due to the fact that Whitney was at this time 21 years old. And she's an adult, and adults don't automatically get a search party sent
That's
out.
some bullshit.
Yeah, so the police took Clinton's information and, you know, they were kind of on the lookout, but it wasn't anything official. And he called back a few hours later, or about an hour later, he called again. And that's when they really got into it and officially started an investigation. And during this time, because Clinton has called everyone, they do have their own personal, you know, family friend search party going on. They were really active in their local Jehovah's Witness chapter. So, and that's a really tight-knit community, and that whole group really came out to join in the search. At 12:53 p.m. on the day of the 16th, police went to the corner of 257th and Stark to a gas station. Now, to give everyone an idea, Portland, the river, the Willamette that divides, is kind of considered the zero block. And so we're talking 257 blocks east of downtown Portland. And Stark is really a main thoroughfare that takes you all the way to the city. We're not in a rural area, but kind of on the cusp of, you know, it's really suburban. So they get a call to go to the Jackson gas station because they ran Whitney's bank report and found that at 9:13 a.m. her card was used there. They kept looking through her bank report and found that a few minutes later she got gas a couple miles north on that same street at the big truck stop gas station.
Wait, so she went to 2 gas stations?
Yeah, and I really can't find anything as far as why.
I'm curious, since it's such a busy area, what kind of cameras are around?
And that was a big part of it. So while the police are at the first gas station at Jackson's, which is just about 2 miles from their apartment, they are starting the process of, can we get your surveillance footage and all of that. While they're at that first station and they're talking to potential witnesses, they get a call from a family friend that her car is found on the Walmart parking lot just 4 miles from her apartment.
And recapping tonight's new developments, we now know what Whitney vanished Tuesday morning. Her SUV was found in the parking lot of the Walmart in Gresham. One of the windows was smashed out, but investigators say that damage didn't happen in the Walmart parking lot.
It was a relief to find the vehicle, obviously, because it's some sort of sign of Whitney. That's what they've been looking for. However, the concern for Whitney and her well-being was really elevated when they got to the car because it was found to have a broken passenger side window and there was blood throughout the vehicle.
Oh, no.
Police responded to the scene and immediately started processing everything before having the car taken in to be thoroughly examined and walked through, processed for DNA, the whole shebang. At that time, police start to work with Walmart and work with any of those potential witnesses and start the process of getting their surveillance footage as well. And happy to say, as much as we maybe aren't fans of Walmart, everyone was extremely helpful and really stepped up in getting them any information that they might need. Then at 3:40 p.m., those same Walmart employees called the police to report they had found suspicious items in their dumpster. They weren't only suspicious, they were actually bloody items. While the investigators are still processing up at the gas station, they're processing the car, they now come back and go through the dumpster. Knowing items are found in the dumpster, they can really focus not only what they're investigating time-wise, you know, at Walmart, but make sure they get all the cameras that are focused on the dumpster, that back area of the parking lot,
Right.
and really narrow down their search. While going through the videos, they hit a jackpot, and at 11:19 a.m., a man is seen exiting a vehicle and placing those same items into a dumpster.
Ooh, do they recognize him?
They did not,
Ah.
but they at least had somewhat of a person of interest, right? So
Right.
they now had...
Is it a clear
Build.
video? Do we know?
You know, I haven't been able to find it. I have been looking for it, but it was enough that, you know, they could tell kind of height and build enough and
to have a
male.
description out to people.
So officers keep working to figure out who this mystery man is, while others are back at the apartments. They're interviewing friends and family. They're talking to all the neighbors in their apartment complex. And at that time, they come across Amanda Holt. And her husband, Johnathan, was noticeably one of the only neighbors not really involved.
Participating.
Yeah. It was pretty clear, like, all these people are out searching. Obviously people have to work and things of that nature. He was noticeably absent, even though he was supposed to be at work. And it was noticeable because they were actually friends with the Heichels. This really piqued the officer's interest, but it really wasn't enough to assume anything. You can't really go, he's not here, he must have done something. However, they really started to talk to Amanda at length. And that's when the red flags start to pop up. Amanda says Johnathan had not come home and he should have been home from work. And was
from the night before?
No, so he's supposed to go way, way early in the morning, gets home in the afternoon.
Gotcha.
And at this point should have been home, and in general hadn't answered his phone. Some of this was a little vague. So there's this 44-page police report, and I went through it several times trying to get all the information. Well, I mean, I want to be thorough and accurate, okay? And some of the stuff I couldn't really nail down, and that might be like my attention span ability, but also that it just wasn't detailed.
Sure.
She kind of just hints that he's basically missing, but not really enough to file anything or to really be worried. And this was the only thing he's ever had in his criminal background was a few driving citations, which who doesn't? We've all been there. And a few years prior, and I couldn't find an exact date, she had filed a missing persons report for him. So
for her husband?
For the husband. But it never went like I think she kind of, from what I could find, she kind of like called it off.
Retracted it. After,
yeah.
okay.
So like.
Got a hold of him
hey, I'm
eventually
kind of worried.
Something.
Exactly. So this is a little bit expected for him, or not like the most shocking thing that he's not around. Then she tells officers, quote, he really lets things build up and then he loses it.
Oh, that's always a great thing to look for in a husband.
Absolutely. Really good coping skill. It sounds healthy. And this habit of his of bottling everything up leads to her, quote, having trouble believing his stories.
Oh.
So it sounds like he maybe goes off for a while, whether it's a whole day or a couple days, then comes home and has some bullshit of, I was out wrangling wild turkeys and that's why just nonsense. And so she doesn't really buy it. So all of that combined with the surveillance video, which fit his description, really pushed detectives to narrow in and focus on Johnathan. A little bit about Johnathan Holt and Amanda Holt. He was 24 years old at the time, and they were married back in 2010. They had moved to the Heatherwood apartment complex in Gresham in August of 2012, so that's just 2 months prior to Whitney's disappearance.
Did they know them previously, or they just
no? They just happened
friends?
to, yeah, they just happened to
young
end
couples
up there.
strike up a friendship.
Exactly. They were part of the same Jehovah's Witness congregation, and so they had that in common as well, which really started to add to their budding friendships. At one point, the Heichels were leaving for vacation, and they gave the Holts a key to their home so they could take care of their plants and their cat. And it's believed that this connection and access really kind of planted the seeds for what would eventually become Jonathan's unexpected and definitely unnoticed obsession with Whitney.
Uh-oh. Did he take anything, do we know?
Oh, we're going to find out.
I'm so excited.
On October 16th, the day of Whitney's disappearance, Johnathan finally made it home around 7 p.m. And according to his wife, he had been missing for about 12 hours. That's because she didn't hear from him at all at work. And I'm not sure if work contacted her since he didn't make it into work, but she knew he had not been where he was supposed to be. And he didn't come home in his car. He was brought home by friends that had found him walking on 257th.
His car is nowhere to be found.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah. So these friends talked to police, and this is Amanda and Evan Judd. Different Amanda Judd, not the wife Amanda.
Not confusing at all.
Very Gresham of us. And their statement to police was that they were out helping with the search to find any sign of Whitney when they spotted their friend Johnathan walking up the street. So they pull over and they ask if he's okay, if he wants a ride. And at first, he walks right over and grabs the door and is getting into the car, and then kind of urgently starts backing up and
gas. Maybe he's being
polite. And then closes the door and says, quote, "I need to clear my head," or finish clearing my head.
Uh-oh.
And
a rough 12 hours alone.
A rough 12 hours. So the friends let him walk away, but their concern really forces them to kind of push the situation. They catch up to him in the car, and Evan hops out and walks over to Johnathan. It's like, come on, like, let's get you home. Stop walking up the street. He's only about 2.5 miles from home. He's actually not very far at all, like feet from the Jackson's gas station where the card was used for gas in the morning, Whitney's card. They basically force him into the car to take him home. And when they keep talking to him saying, "Why are you walking down the street? What's going on?" He informs them he'd been robbed at gunpoint earlier in the day, and he was shaken from it.
Believable in that area, to be honest.
I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of. The friends press him saying, you know, and this is me filling in the blanks, as I would assume friends would say, of just, what are you talking about? Did you call police? Are you okay?
Did you film it on your cell phone?
Anything. And Johnathan refused to report the robbery to the police and just forced the friends to take him home. When he got home, he was expected to just go in and see his wife, and I'm okay, and here I am. And the wife reported that he came in. She's basically hysterical, and, "Oh my God, you're okay." And he walks right past her and goes in his room. So she keeps asking, you know, where you've been all day, and gets nothing. With the understanding that Johnathan had been sort of missing for 12 hours and had been a neighbor and sort of friend to Whitney, this was enough for police to question him. So they have him come in, and the story was suspicious. He didn't really go into detail, but just, yeah, I got robbed, and that's what I did, and then I walked home. And
did he describe the person that robbed him?
Not at first. It was not really anything. It was just kind of, I had nothing to do with anything, but I got robbed, and that's that. So with that not really matching up to literally anything, that was enough to get a permit to do surveillance.
Oh, really?
So they start surveillance.
They were just had an inkling that he had to be involved somehow.
Something was not right with what the wife was saying about his behavior, his actual behavior, and being found not in a crime scene area, but where the car had been, you know.
That's kind of cool that they're able to get
right,
that.
yeah. It's much easier to start surveillance on someone than it is to do like a search warrant or anything bigger than that.
I mean, I'd volunteer to do that.
I've actually done that. I was a private eye for a night.
Man, that sounds fun.
It was terrible.
Why? Did you not have your donuts?
No, my best friend and I, we were in Vegas, and our boss's friend said, "I think my husband's cheating on me. I need someone to spy." And we're like,
I think I remember that.
We'll do it. And we sat in a parking lot for like 4 hours, because he worked late, but he legitimately worked late. And we listened to terrible radio, and then he left, and we started following him. And I'm a fast driver, but I could not keep up with him, and we lost him within like quarter mile. And we
knew you were
and
watching
we had
him.
to call the wife and be like, "We can't find him, even though we've been sitting here all this time waiting for this moment."
So you failed at that career.
And then she goes, "Oh, he came home." And we're like, "Okay," but she paid us like $100 or something. We're like, "Okay,
Worth it.
check it off the list." Where were we? The sheriffs, yes, the surveillance. So now it's the 17th. Whitney's been missing for a day, and sheriffs and actually the marshals joined in to follow Johnathan to work, where they witnessed him go into the building in the morning totally normally. And then a few hours later, he comes back outside, goes to the trunk of his car, and he starts rummaging around. He's putting a backpack in. He's taking a backpack out. He's moving things around, just really bizarre. And then he gets something in his hand, walks over to some shrubs, and drops something. And they are obviously like, "Sweet, you just made our job way easy." So they wait for him to go back into work and wait till the coast is clear. And the police walk over to the shrub where he had just been.
What is it?
And they found a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
Oh, casual.
Very casual, natural place to do that, just at your office.
Did he maybe rob himself at gunpoint?
It's very possible. Like, gotta stick to this story. Gotta make it real. And that is not the end of this really stupid, really suspicious behavior. So police witness him go to an apartment building. They follow him from work. He leaves work, and he goes to an apartment building 2 miles from his own apartment building. He pulls up to the dumpster, takes items out of his car, and puts them in the dumpster. After he left, some officers stay to go through the dumpster, and other other officers follow him to his pre-scheduled interview with police. So he stopped, like, quick pit stop, got to dump stuff into this dumpster.
To see the coppers.
So the police go into that dumpster and they find a holster, ammunition, and an empty ammunition box.
Well, so he went out with his holster and gun.
Yes. But dumped them separately and dumped them really obviously. And this is the creme de la creme, cherry on top, how stupid are you moment. He gets to the Gresham Police Department for his pre-scheduled interview, which he's already had an interview. It didn't go well. He knows that they're like
on to him.
He starts walking inside and stops at like the little median, which is grassy and shrubbery, whatever, and kneels down and kind of mimes like he's tying his shoes.
No.
And the officers are all watching from the windows going, this guy's not tying his shoes, like pretty clearly not tying his shoes. He walks inside, throws his arms up in the air, rips his glasses off his face, walks outside the building, maybe gets some fresh air or something, and then comes back in for his interview. So they take him to the back room.
What?
Sit him down to interview. He's not doing well, is what I'm saying. He's not handling the pressure. So they set him down, and while he's contained and being interviewed, officers walk out to where he had tied his shoes and find a handgun. Not only was he dumping things en route to a police interview,
at the police station?
At the police station in front of police for an investigation of a missing person.
I mean, I know the school system there isn't the best. But wow.
Yeah.
Was he homeschooled?
He went to Park Rose, so I mean but I mean, is that part of his I bottle it up and then I lose it and his brain just snaps and can't process?
She really foreshadowed that, didn't she?
Right? I mean, like, that is we call that in my profession a thinking error. So he's being interviewed. Johnathan was asked what transpired yesterday, the day of her disappearance. And his alibi kind of took them by surprise because now he really went into detail about this robbery.
Oh, good. Good. I wanted to know more about it.
This is all what he says transpired. He leaves for work at 4:45 a.m., which is the usual time. I know. Nightmare. However, when he goes to leave for work, his motorcycle wouldn't start. So he did what any normal person would do. He pushed it into a different spot in the parking lot.
What?
Funny story about that. At the time that this happened,
like timed spots?
No.
Huh.
My theory would be he wanted it to look like he had left for work.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good.
And
I thought maybe it was raining, so he put it under the covered parking or something.
Right, which would maybe make sense, but also like he hid it. He was hiding it. But his thing is it wouldn't work, so I moved it. When this happened, I had a after work nanny job at those apartments.
Whoa.
At the Heatherwood apartments. And there was a lot of buzz. Everyone knew that this had happened. No one knew what happened. I'm a couple years older than her, but it was still like, is someone walking around grabbing young ladies and going to their car? So everyone was really on edge and looking around. One of the perks I had of this nanny job was I got to have the reserved covered spot of the apartment. So I went to pull in that day on the 17th.
And there was a motorcycle in your spot?
And I could not park because I almost hit a motorcycle. I am not even kidding. And I start swearing and yelling, going, what kind of dumbass visitor doesn't know what visitor parking is? You're in my freaking spot. Now I got to go down the block.
It's a casual road rage.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I was just like, what kind of idiot? Like,
soon we will find out
what
kind of idiot.
So this motorcycle's in my spot, and I was just, and where the spot was, I could see it like right outside the main window of the apartment. I was just looking. I was just like, I hope this person shows up, and I'm just gonna let them have it. That's not your spot. That kind of thing.
Confronting someone over a parking spot is always a good idea.
I was worried about the family that I was working with and respecting their property, and
Okay.
things of that nature. And it was my spot.
It was a perk.
So no, it was the perk.
It was a payment.
So no one came the whole day. And then the mom comes home and she's like, what's up with the bike? And I'm like, I don't know, but that's really annoying. She's like, yeah, it is. I'll talk to manage it, whatever. Come to find out, we find out 3 days later, that was Jonathan's bike. And he lived on a building on the other side of like the clubhouse and the pool and all that. And he had pushed
moved it quite far. Then.
like he moved it around.
So I was picturing just like across.
Oh
the
no,
parking.
no. Like
they'll never find me out.
no, like he was legit hiding it. Now, why you wouldn't just go to the furthest away visitor spot where
Or,
no
like,
one would notice?
Write it somewhere else. Take a
Literally,
Uber
go
or
put it in
something?
a ditch. Like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to leave it on a street somewhere, but if you put it in visitor, no one will notice. And instead, it's in a spot, and now people are complaining and this whole thing. So anyway, that was a weird little connection of his bike being in my spot.
Famous
It really kind of gave me
friends.
the boo-boo jeebies because I was just like, oh, that
Jeebies.
that guy was right there in that space. So he says he moves it because it didn't work. How you even push a bike that's dead, but okay. The bike doesn't.
You can't.
I mean, you
can
can,
push
but
a car in neutral.
you can, but I mean,
Let's go figure this out.
literally no point. So he decides the bike's not starting. I'm going to go take the Max, which is our local train public transportation system. This was the first time he had ever done, and they're 2 months living there. He's never done this before, but on this day, he's going to go to the Max. While he's walking to the stop, a car pulls up next to him, and the passenger asks for directions. As he turns to talk to him, Jonathan tells the officers, the passenger hops out. He's yelling at him. He pulls out a gun. And then him and the driver are both yelling at him, and they're both black men because, of course. And he tells the officers, they, quote, basically tell me to get on the ground. Which, if you're going to have this story, I mean, they're telling me to get on the ground. Not what does basically even mean?
Please,
So
can you get down, please?
we would really like it. So during this mugging, they take his phone, wallet, and backpack. They rifle through the backpack, take out his laptop and iPad and keys, and then give him his backpack back.
Because they have their own bag to
Yeah, they're like, we don't need, that's ridiculous.
That's what I like to do when I'm robbing someone, is just take my time organizing the stuff I
Yeah,
plan
not
to
just grab
take.
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as most muggers are wont to do, they did steal his hoodie.
Because it was cold that day.
It was chilly.
And it was a
Everything
nice
else
hoodie,
is
right?
fine.
It was like the new where it was really soft inside.
Yeah, really soft, had the little cuffs, all of that. Yeah. And so that's why he didn't have his hoodie that he wore that day.
Oh, okay.
Which makes
couldn't be any other reason.
A lot of sense. After he's mugged, he decides he's going to walk to his dad's, which was a very reasonable 14 miles away.
Easy walk.
Very easy.
12-hour walk.
As he starts walking towards his dad's house, he decides, oh, dad might not even be home. So he makes the better choice of walking 3 miles a different direction and gets to a Domino's.
Yum.
And it's there that he finally has a breakdown about the robbery, and he's crying and he's just totally shaken to the core. But somehow he finds the strength. Maybe he grabbed pizza. I don't know. And he carries on. And he makes it 9 miles to the Burger King at the Portland airport.
What?
So he walks like from Domino's up like Hogan all the way down maybe the
He didn't
freeway.
go to IKEA for some meatballs?
No, like and gets to Marine Drive or Airport Way or something, and then goes all the way to Burger King.
What?
And they don't say if he got food there. I don't know if he was just on a tour
Yeah, these are
de la
things we need to
food.
know.
Gets to the airport and goes from heading north to heading east to walk an additional 8 miles to the FedEx down at the Troutdale Airport, which is apparently somewhere he used to work at.
We got to map this out.
I have mapped this out, but we will put it on the
Beautiful.
website, murderintherain.com,
Yeah, we will.
to show his supposed route on the day he was
I hope
mugged.
it's in the shape of a penis.
Like he put that much thought in of like,
There was a girl. Did you read that article about the girl that every day she ran in the shape of a
Yes.
penis for like months?
yes.
It's
God bless
hilarious.
her.
I hope she planned them all out.
I would hope that.
She just
What are
naturally
the
knows the
odds?
shape of a phallus.
A phallus. Such a snob.
Excuse me?
So he claims that after he's mugged or I think that's a mugging, right? Robbed is like intrusion.
Yeah, that's actually what's the difference between a burglary? That's
Burglaries,
a home
you're not home.
You're not home.
Right? Burglaries, no one's there. Robbery is you are there. Mugging is like outside. Am I making this up?
I don't know. We should look at that.
We'll
That
look
sounds
into
about
this.
right. I feel like mugging's like, is there some sort of assault involved too?
I think that's just if
Why
you're
don't I
you're gonna Google her?
it this.
Give a little Googler.
You can keep talking.
Oh, because you're super listening. Great.
I am.
No, you're gonna get the
All right.
answer.
Robbery. The action of taking property unlawfully from a person or place by force of threat.
Oh, see, so you're home.
But there's also the force of a threat. So it could be, I don't think you have to be home.
I would feel threatened if someone came in my home, whether or not they made an actual threat.
Sure, they could just be there like naked noodle in your living room, like, hey, what's up?
With their phallus.
Yep. Okay, mugging, an act of attacking and robbing someone in public. So it's a partially robbing.
And robbing.
It's in public
Okay.
and you're attacking them.
Okay.
There
so
we
he
go.
was
We
robbed.
got it now.
Okay.
I feel more intelligent and ready for Jeopardy.
Anyway, Johnathan claims he never called the police because he was so in shock and he was planning on just walking back home. He just had to walk it out. Just walk out the fear and the...
You can go for a drive, blow off some steam.
A lot of options besides a 20-something mile walk. The cops obviously are not buying this story. They start picking it apart. As they go, it kind of changes every time. He went to his dad's. He didn't go to his dad's. He didn't report it because he would have lost his job and he only had $50 in the bank. And it's like, how do you lose your job when you didn't even go to work? So how, like, you're going to lose it because you got robbed? It was not adding up, to say the least. Then he explains that he and his wife are having financial issues, and he was out of work for some time, just got this other job, and they're trying to get their heads above water. Just a lot more red flags. Police then start to ask about the 1999 Ford Explorer of Whitney's. Had he ever driven it? Had he ever been inside? And he couldn't quite remember.
No, he's only known them a couple of months.
2
though,
months.
Right? I would think you could remember back that long.
I think technically if you really look at it, it's like 6 weeks.
Interesting.
You would think that, but he did admit that he was somewhat of a local handyman, and it was possible he had been in the car if he ever had to like help start it or repair it at some point, but he couldn't be sure. But I feel like I could ask you and be like, Emily, have you ever been in Josh's car?
Yeah, I absolutely know that I have not.
Right. So that would be the answer.
But I am
you'd
a
be
little
looking-
bit of a mechanic on the side.
That's
so
true.
If Josh needed
That's true.
Police say that they believe that Whitney's SUV was in the area of Larch Mountain on Tuesday morning. They also say that they have confirmed that they believe that some of the evidence that they found on Larch Mountain is connected to her missing persons case.
And we also learned detectives have received over 40 tips in this case, including 20 overnight, another 21 today. They say they're following up on each and every lead, no matter how insignificant it seems.
The cops start telling him there's DNA. They're processing everything in the car, and they do find fingerprints. And obviously, they haven't had enough time to process
Wait,
everything.
whose fingerprints?
Well, they don't know yet, but
Oh,
they're
they-
just laying the
Ooh,
they're
when do we
laying
find out?
the info to him of
What are we going to find?
We have
This is
DNA.
a common police thing.
Do you want to just fess up and save our time?
Tell us if it's going to be yours.
So they explain that they were able to match the blood, hair, teeth, and a pool of blood on the passenger side floor to Whitney. There were
I'm sorry. Wait. Teeth?
Yes, or a tooth, I believe. There was some clumpage of hair and a tooth.
Oh, okay. That
So
came
it's
out of
really-
nowhere. In the car.
Well, this is their information they're giving him from the car being processed.
okay.
Is that is what was found. So it's
Yikes.
not looking good
Yeah.
at this point.
for either
Shell
of them, really.
Right, yeah. Shell casings are found. They are matching the size of the first gun that he just sat in the shrubs. There had been an attempt to clean the car, though. The seats had clearly been wiped down, and they could tell because there was blood down in the seams of the seats. And there was a mostly used bottle of Febreze because
when you want to get
everyone
rid of blood,
knows.
Febreze
It's their,
that shit.
it's their tagline, you know. Our scent enhancer cleans up crime scenes for dummies or something. You know, it's just everyone knows that. It didn't take long for Johnathan to crack under the pressure of all this information and the interview and the evidence. And the top priority for the police at this point was Whitney. You know, they're assuming it's a recovery and they just want to make that happen for the family's sake. Johnathan informed them that her body was located at Larch Mountain, which is a wooded area just about an hour east of Whitney's apartment. It's really beautiful up there, really wooded, natural area, kind of towards Mount Hood and all of that. But while it's only 12 miles, it's really windy to get up there, so it does take about an hour. While still in possession of Whitney and Clinton's key, Johnathan admitted to police that he went into their home, stole an old iPhone of Clinton's from a dresser drawer. He stated that he then went through the apartment, stealing nothing else, but just kind of going through the apartment. He then used the phone as his own for the following month or so until the day of the murder when he disposed of it with Whitney's body. So again, it's not clear if he thought, oh, they'll think it was Clinton because it's his phone and it's out here. So
since the phone was left with her, could they extract where it had been?
I think so. They did some pinging and found that it had been in all of the same locations. And Clinton didn't realize it was missing because it was just one of his older phones, which I have that. I've literally saved every old phone because I'm like, oh, it's full of all my text messages. It's
I may need to refer to that.
It's an electronic diary, and I will
You're
keep
a
it.
cop's dream.
I really am. Make it easy. Once confessing to officers, the true timeline of what happened on October 16th came to light. And that was that after Johnathan, quote, left for work that morning and moved his bike into my spot, he waited the 2 hours, not really sure where, but waited outside until Whitney was leaving to go to Starbucks. He approached his friend and, basically taking advantage of her being a kind person, stated he was having car trouble and asked her for a ride. It's not clear if this was to a bus stop or a train stop because he worked basically downtown and she was only a couple miles from work. So she obviously wasn't going to drive him all the way into the city. He then admitted that within 5 minutes of being in the car, he pulled a gun on Whitney, forcing her to stop at the gas stations. And that timeline sort of makes sense because the card was used at 9 something, but they really were actual minutes away from the gas station. So I'm not quite sure if that was more of when it was found to have been used or if it took time to process or what happened in that window.
What were they buying?
They bought gas at the first one. And the other one just said it was used there. So I don't know if anything else was.
He just like puts a gun on her, notices they're on empty and thinks,
or that it was too low and he might have already had a plan of going really far, like fill the tank and we're going to Canada. I'm not sure. While he's holding a gun to his friend, she was made to drive to Roslyn Lake, which is 14 miles southeast from their apartments. It was there that he forced her to give him oral sex before he raped and sodomized her. He then shot her multiple times in the passenger seat. So hence the broken window, hence the hair and the teeth and the blood and all of that. In a panic, he drove an hour northeast to Larch Mountain, perhaps because it's more secluded or more wooded or just in a panic. That was where he decided to dispose of the body along with his/Clinton's cell phone.
What about a sweatshirt?
I'm trying to remember.
Maybe he was robbed.
It might have been one of the recovered like dumpster items, but yeah, I feel like I read something now. I'm totally blanking, but it definitely was like, yeah, dude, you got rid of it because it was covered in blood. No one robbed you of your hoodie. So he disposes of the body. He drives back to town and somehow makes it from Larch Mountain to Wood Village, which is far away, with no one seeing like your windows smashed out. And I would imagine like that it would be fairly unnatural and maybe even blood on the window or something. Like no one noticed him driving.
That Febreze, so
he did have the Febreze. I wasn't thinking. So he drives back to town, gets to the Walmart, and that's where he abandons the car and then does the first dumpster dump of evidence. And from there, I'm going to say begins his walk home, but there's a big chunk of time and I'm not sure. He really might have walked to Burger King and FedEx or something, but there is like a 6-hour window from when the car was dumped to him getting home. And we're talking about at most a 5-mile walk. So should not have taken that amount of time. And it's really unclear what was happening in that window. It was at this time that while talking to investigators, that he took it upon himself to casually mention, since they were already, the process of search warrants and everything else was happening.
Oh, what are they going to find?
He just mentions that, oh, by the way, since I didn't get my iPad and my laptop stolen from me and I still have all those things, my external hard drives, my iPad, laptop, and phone are filled to the brim with porn, some of it of the child nature. Just God. FYI. October 20th, 4 days after she went missing, Whitney Heichel's body was recovered from Larch Mountain. Luckily for the families, Johnathan did have a shred of decency left. He took a plea deal, being found guilty in aggravated murder, robbery, kidnapping, and sodomy. Nothing came of the pornography. There are no charges against him. I think that was probably part of the plea deal.
Oh, that infuriates me.
He says he took the plea deal because he was adamant that there be no trial so that he did not cause any additional pain for the family. But it could also very well be that he is now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole and the death penalty was taken off the table.
Is it a true life or life?
No, it's like you're not leaving.
Okay,
ever.
True life.
Yeah. What do you say? What's the difference?
Life can be like a 20-year, 25-year.
Oh, and this is no parole.
Yeah,
This is
good.
forever and ever. When he made his first appearance in front of the judge for his indictment, he was wearing a suicide smock and he was weeping. And this guy, you know, we'll have his picture up. He is like, all I can think is Neanderthal John Travolta.
Don't insult John Travolta.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I already looked at him. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's
Neanderthal. Thank
Neanderthal.
you for that, by the way.
You're welcome. So he's sobbing when he's indicted and he's sobbing when he apologizes. And that kind of becomes his theme of just he's so remorseful and so sad.
In court, Whitney's family members, including her husband, told Holt they don't think much of him. Then Holt apologized.
I want to say that I'm sorry, but at the same time I know that that doesn't mean anything. I accept full responsibility for what I did and whatever punishment is given to me because of my selfishness. I have stolen a daughter, a sister, and a wife.
While there will never be a full understanding as to why Whitney was chosen to be a victim of this monster, at least the family has peace knowing that he will be serving the rest of his life behind bars. If you or anyone you know is experiencing a crisis, even if you're feeling a mental health crisis or a financial crisis, you can text HOME, that's HOME, to 741-741 and be connected to a counselor immediately. It was 9:56 a.m. on October 16th, 2012, when a call to 911 was made. The voice on the other end was that of Clinton Heichel. Fuck. And what kind of rookie bullshit?
I've not even done that, and I am a rookie.
Like, Bush League is a compliment. Wow.
Wait, what's a bush leak? Did you just say pube? That's a reoccurring theme today.
Lucky. And in 2010, that's when she met a friend of a friend. A friend of a Clint. In 2020, fucking fuck. I look forward to the compilation of me saying fuck.
Favorite part of recording.
That was the most disgusted look any person has ever given me.
That's just how she looks.
Some people have resting bitch face. I have constant disgust face. And so he was found guilty in aggravated murder, kidnapping,
I don't want to know what that is.
That's robbery and sodomy together in one. Rotomy.
Yeah.
And when it's two boys, it's deuterotomy.
Oh, but mom.
Could you shut your whore mouth? Murder in the Rain is produced and edited by Josh McCullough. Written and hosted by Emily Rowney and Alisha Holland. Artwork by Jamie Costa. Music by Kai Pfeiffer at kyfifer.com. Check out our website, murderintherain.com, for additional information on all cases, a fun interactive map, and be sure to subscribe so you can receive our newsletter. Check out the Mad Props page for coupon codes from some of our sponsors. We love your reviews and seeing them on all streaming platforms, especially iTunes. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And suck my balls.
Please put that in.
Hey, you're listening to Tiffany and Sarah at Nefarious Podcast. Each week we bring you stories encompassed into different themes.
Our stories range from the chillingly comical to the downright disturbing. We dive into all things nefarious.
Join us as we put a lighthearted spin on otherwise serious topics and get to know us along the way. You'll love us.
We hope. Find our podcast on all major platforms as we drop new episodes every Wednesday.